Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 4th of August, and I want to talk about human divinity, the thing that we are so terribly afraid of. And that is a part of us that we have forgotten we are. I say it is a part of us. It is not the fullness of our truth. All the other levels, animal, man, and God, they all exist within us. They are states of consciousness. In this world, consciousness takes form, creates a form, and you can see the form and what it does. It does according to what it is, the state of consciousness it is. So what the form does shows you the consciousness within the form. Right. I was listening to a video this morning about divinity and again the detachment from this world, or from what she called the human experience, which is actually true. You do detach in the state of divinity. That is what became very clear to me this morning. It is a state of complete detachment where only the I am exists. It is actually the state of a psychopath, which is not necessarily bad. I want to show you this here, that the judgment of good and bad has to be correct. It is not bad, it serves a purpose. In fact, every state of consciousness serves its own purpose. And we need, actually, if we were fully what we are, we would be able to shift our states of consciousness into the state that will serve us best at the moment, because they are all us and they are all there to serve us. So the state of animal, the state of man, or the state of God, it is not that per se something is one is better than another. That's building the wrong hierarchy. The hierarchy is determined by the moment and what it is you should be at that moment. Stop fighting. But again, in order to make that choice, what you should be, what state you should be in, which state of consciousness you should shift into, you must understand all those states. You must see them within yourself. Yes, and you must be able to enter into different states at will. That is full self-determination. Now, the state of man. Let's start with the state of man. Is the state of being fully connected to everything around you. The fullness of the state of man would be full connection to everything around you. That is the level of man. Now, to what extent you are connected to everything around you, again, is up to you. How deep do you want to go into the connections? How far do you open yourself up to the connections? You can stay on the level of the five senses, which gives you some idea of what's going on. Obviously, you can hear it, you can smell it, you can taste it. You can feel it on the level of the flesh, which is a different feeling than the higher feeling, emotional feeling, stuff like that. But if you want to go deeper into understanding what is around you, you have to go into empathy. You have to start, it's what I call our tentacles. You have to put out your tentacles and to connect something on a different level. Which, as I say, it is the deeper experience. Again, it doesn't mean that that is good. It depends on what you're touching to, sorry. good or bad, could come down those connections, hurt and joy. But it is, either way, a higher level of knowing. Now, so the level of man is the level of knowing. It's also the level of knowing of good and bad, the realization of it. Out of that comes the desire for change, or the desire to maintain what is happening at the time, because if it's good, that desire will lead you to divinity, and that is to the creation of the desired outcome, because God is the creator. The state of divinity is the creator. Again, a state of consciousness within you, the creator within you. That is a place of stillness. Be still and know that I am God. Then listen to the words. Be still and know that I am God. Not that God is out there, not that God is in heaven, in the astral zone, in another dimension. I am is God. In order to become I am, you have to detach from everything else, and then you get into the state of a psychopath, because that's what a psychopath is. No empathy, no connection to anything else, just himself. And here comes how do you use that state? I've just heard again in another video, in that video that I was listening to this morning, once you're in the state of divinity, you have detached from what is going on. You no longer feel it. You're in a higher place. No, you're in a different place. I wouldn't say higher, different place. Forget about up and down. You're in a different place. So they use their divinity in order to run away, to get out of life. And as I would say, since these feelings, these hurts that she was talking about don't even play out on the level of flesh, which is life, I would say it's getting you out of existence altogether, because existence is the web of connections. So you're running away from existence into that place where nothing can touch you anymore. It's a way by which you can use that ability. It might become a resting place for a while. Again, you could use it in that way. Solitude. Rest. But there's something else you can do with that, and that is what Jesus taught. And that is the single eye that carries an intention. Yeah? The intention on the outcome. Knowing yourself in that outcome. Again, it's not so much knowing the outcome, it is knowing yourself. Knowing the outcome is a mistake I've made for a long time, and I think there's many making that mistake. Because it is yourself that is changing, not what is around you. So the outcome that is yourself, and then experiencing reality according to what you have become. That is what Jesus taught. And that is using divinity not as a place of rest or to get away. The intention was not getting away, he was going towards something, toward a specific outcome. But again, then detaching from everything else, tunnel vision on the light, on the outcome, not seeing the storm around you, not listening to what is going on around you. That is divinity creating. But again, it is a state of a psychopath. And as Neville Goddard and others, Joseph Murphy and others have taught, this will work. Jesus himself taught, obviously, not because it is good or bad, but simply because that is how reality works. Jesus taught, in the all there is no judgment, in the Father there is no judgment, in the monad there is no judgment. Your eye is single and you will receive. Whether that is good and bad is really depending on what your eye is set on. And you should have thought about it before you make a decision. And you should have used your knowledge of this world, your knowledge of others, your empathy. All of that should have helped you to make the correct decision. Others. But at some point, as I said, you have to say that is it. My decision is made, and then you have to detach. That is what Jesus taught with the single eye. And here is, again, where you can see the level of man speaking and the level of divinity speaking in the part of the Bible where Jesus said, I'm going to Jerusalem. Yeah? The Son of Man is going to be tortured, nailed to a cross, killed. That was definitely a single eye. Yeah? That is the outcome. That's where I'm going. Whether that is good or bad, I think is very much open to debate. I wouldn't call it good. But he had definitely overcome the level of the animal, the self-preservation. He had overcome that completely. He had overcome the level of man, which actually spoke out of Simon Peter. The level that was still connected in empathy, in compassion, in love. When Simon Peter said, I wish you wouldn't do that. I wish you wouldn't go there. I wish this is not going to happen. But Jesus rebuked him. Yeah, get ye behind me, Satan, which means get ye behind me, the voice that speaks against. I'm detaching from that. I'm no longer listening. My eye is single. I will not listen to anything around me. You could say I'm not listening to reason anymore, because that is actually, divinity is a state beyond reason. I'm listening to nothing anymore. My eye is set on the outcome, and that's where I'm going. And that is manifestation. That is the way to manifesting an outcome. Again, what has actually changed is yourself. Overcome the level of animal or self-preservation. Overcome the connections with one another that is man. And go into the point of divinity. And since it is only one point, divinity is a lot smaller than man. The knowledge of divinity is a lot smaller than man. Again, something that was said in the Gnostic, is said in the Gnostic texts, that Adam was actually the more aware, the more knowledgeable being. The archons knew less. They recognized that. So, I was thinking about all these things this morning. And let me just say one more thing, and that is the state of man, which is not human. Human is the, I would call human the solid experience, which is not detached from it. It is a part of the whole experience. But the level of man and the hurt that you can experience, because it is knowledge. And I heard this morning, again, this running away, you reach the level of divinity because those around you can no longer hurt you. As I said, hurt is a knowledge. It is even a knowledge on the level of the solid. You know, if your body hurts, it's telling you something, that something is going wrong. Hurt that you feel is not necessarily bad or mean or done by somebody that is mean. Because a friend could tell you something, a truth that you need to know that would serve you, and that truth can hurt. So to just say hurt is bad and I need to get away from it is actually, to me, a very immature way of looking at it. That is really like a small child saying, Mommy and Daddy are being mean to me because they don't love me. They won't let me do this or that. They scold me. They might even punish me in some way for what I've done. So they don't love me. So that is a very, very immature, small way of looking at it. But as I say, together, the knowledge, you have to be open to the knowledge. And yes, that can hurt. But you should grow with that. You don't have to open yourself that deep. You can learn on the 5 sense level. It's up to you. But now, what I really wanted to get to and what really came to me this morning, this psychopathic state, which I said can be either good or bad. What comes out of it depends on how wise you were and what you were choosing. I think you can get stuck in it. That's the thing. I think you can get stuck in it. Now, the gods of the Bible, especially the Old Testament God, or gods, seem to be complete psychopaths. Yes, that's because that's what they were. They were in a state of divinity. And they made themselves the rulers. And they remained in that state of divinity above the human level. Which means they were detached from the knowledge of the truth of all. And they made decisions from that detached state, which were psychopathic decisions. So, again, and if you are stuck, and here's the thing that everybody's been driven into, we must reach the highest point, we must reach this point of divinity, we must stay in that point of divinity, then you're actually trapped in the state of divinity. Which is, as I said, the knowledge of self, which is the smallest knowledge available. It works something, but it is the smallest. It's where you become a laser to one point, but it is the smallest knowledge available. So what should we, or what is our truth? Our truth is every level. Every level is inside of us. And it is only if we understand every part of it and can shift, we are free to shift into whatever level will serve us best at the time. Then we are completely free. Then we are sovereign because we have the rulership of the totality of ourselves. But you can become trapped in just one part of it. I'd say there are those that are trapped on the animal level. That is purely the sustaining of the solid body and the desires of the solid body. They're trapped in the knowledge of only that. There are those that are trapped on the level of man. They are in empathy. They're trying to do their best to make this a good experience, but it is limited what you can do. And I think there are those that have gotten trapped in the level of divinity, which is the level of a psychopath. It can serve you. The true self that we are is every level. And true sovereignty is to be able to go from one level to another freely, to be the fullness, to live in the fullness, to experience the fullness. That is true. That is when we're truly sovereign. Any other, if we're animal, if we're man, even if we are God, we're trapped, because that is not the fullness. So, yes, and here comes the next part, and that is people with tunnel vision, which is divinity. It's also the state of a psychopath. The two are one. Yeah, those that are trapped and can't get out anymore. How do we stay conscious in a state of divinity and don't get lost there? I was thinking this morning about the never-ending story, because I think that actually shows it. Yeah, the going into Fantasia, the state of the complete creator, my will be done, I can do everything. And then they end up not knowing who they are, and they end up in the hall of the mad kings. And the story, Sebastian was rescued from Fantasia by his father. His father woke him up, brought him back, actually brought him back to the level of man. So, yes, whatever we are, we need a mechanism that, at the moment, we're getting all these teachings which might take you into that state of divinity. Yeah? And everybody's driving toward that state of divinity, which is not wrong. We should have hold of that state and know what it does. Be able to use it because it is a part of us. As I said, we're all running to get into it. I don't think we have thought about how to get out again. And I think I said that before. If you're getting into something, one of the knowledges you should have is how to get out again. Yeah, and how do you work that without getting stuck? Because that is a trap. That can become a trap. So that's where I'm at the moment. If you want to get in, how the hell do you get out? Because you don't want to be there forever. You will forget who you are. The fullness. You will forget the fullness. And you shouldn't. Because that is the truth. The fullness of the truth of the monad, of the all. If you trap yourself in self, you're trapped in a very, very, very small part of it. It is useful, but how do you get out if you get in? Anyway, here, I will leave it at that for today. Again, more questions that I've got answers. But I will leave it at that for today. And I talk to you again soon. Bye.